Imagine the fear on those fake cops' faces when my wife, a naval security commander, showed her badge and demanded, "What are you doing on my property?" Their confidence melted, faces pale like they'd seen a ghost. The HOA thought they could evict us over a 100-year-old oak tree in our yard. Big mistake. They were about to learn what happens when you pick on the wrong family. After years in the military, my wife Emily and I wanted a real home. I'd served 12 years as a Marine before becoming a civil engineer, while Emily, newly promoted to lieutenant colonel, led security at the nearby naval station Oak Ridge. When we found a beautiful colonial house with a big yard and a grand 100-year-old oak in Pinewood Estates, we knew it was perfect for our 9-year-old daughter, Sophie, who'd moved between bases her whole life. That tree promised forts, swings, and the steady home we wanted for her. Pinewood Estates looked rich, perfect lawns, matching mailboxes, everything super neat. Caught up in our dream, we quickly signed the HOA agreement without reading it closely, a big mistake that led to a suburban fight worse than any war we'd faced. Days after moving in, with boxes still unpacked, the doorbell rang. There stood Margaret Conway, HOA president, in a sharp blazer, her blonde hair perfect, her smile cold. "Welcome to Pinewood," she said, handing us a basket of coupons and a shiny HOA rulebook. Her eyes scanned our yard, Sophie's scooter on the grass, boxes on the porch, her lips tightening. For 15 minutes, she lectured about fence colors, mailbox rules, and lawn standards, sounding more like a drill sergeant than a neighbor. Then she focused on our oak. "It's overwhelming," she said, peering through our back door. "Most here prefer a cleaner look. You might consider removing it." My stomach twisted. "The oak's why we bought this place," I said firmly. Margaret's smile flickered, something mean in her eyes. "The HOA values aesthetics," she said. "You'll want to fit in." As she left, Emily, with her intelligence officer instincts, whispered, "She's not just enforcing rules, she's claiming control." A week later, at a community barbecue, Margaret's grip on Pinewood was clear. Neighbors were friendly, especially James Porter, a law professor down the street. "Don't let Margaret scare you," he muttered, shaking my hand. "She's ruled this place like a queen since her husband died." People quieted when Margaret walked by, her presence demanding respect. At the event's end, she tapped her glass. After normal announcements, she added, "Let's help our new neighbors, the Wilsons, meet our standards. Their yard needs work." Her smile hit a jab that stung like a public scolding. I tensed, but Emily's hand on my arm signaled to stay calm. That night, Emily pulled out a notebook. "This is war," she said, writing. "We study the HOA rules, find allies, and plan our defense." She was right. This wasn't a small fight. It was a battle. 2 weeks later, a letter fined us $150 for grass a quarter-inch too long, even though I'd mowed days before. Our lawn matched the neighbors. Then came fines for garbage bins out 4 minutes past pickup and Sophie's bike by the garage. Each notice was tiny but cost money. "They're making up violations," I growled, holding a fine for our mailbox being half an inch too high. Emily, reading HOA documents and Oak Ridge County laws, nodded. "The rules are vague enough to twist anything, but they're breaking city laws." James became our guide, explaining Margaret took over after her husband, a strict but fair colonel, died. "She's overcompensating," he said, "and she's close with Frank Dillon, an ex-cop on the board who does her dirty work." Sure enough, Frank's gray SUV started driving by our street, taking photos with a long lens. When I confronted him, he mumbled about violations, but couldn't name one. Sophie stopped playing outside, scared of the creepy guy. Alice Morgan, the HOA treasurer, seemed nervous delivering a notice, whispering, "This is worse than with the Thompsons last year," then ran off when I asked more. Emily installed military-grade cameras. "We need proof," she said, aiming one at the driveway. "This isn't normal HOA stuff, they want us gone." At the monthly HOA meeting, we faced a room of quiet neighbors and a board led by Margaret, with Frank glaring beside her. I challenged the fine's inconsistencies, but Margaret cut me off, showing photos of Emily's new daisies, calling them unauthorized plantings and fining us $1,500 plus $50 daily until removed. James argued annual flowers didn't need approval, but Margaret said the board changed the rule. The fines passed 5-1, James voting no. The room felt like a trap, neighbors avoiding our eyes. Later, our cameras caught Frank's SUV at 2 a.m., then Margaret and Frank trespassing in our yard, measuring the oak. "They're building a case," Emily said, her calm chilling me. We went into research mode. James connected us with Lisa Thompson, who left Pinewood after huge fines over their own oak, claiming it broke a height rule. "We sold cheap when we couldn't pay," she said, hands shaking. Months later, they rezoned for commercial development. I heard Margaret got paid. Emily's Naval contacts found records linking Councilman Edward Blake to Summit Ventures, a developer. Margaret was listed as a consultant, earning big fees. HOA funds showed unexplained legal costs, likely funding the harassment. Eleanor Brooks, a neighborhood historian, confirmed the oaks were protected by the original covenant. "Margaret knows," she said, showing 1960s maps. Emily uncovered Frank's past, kicked out of the police for tampering with evidence. "One day, I caught him watching our house with binoculars." "Found any violations, Frank?" I asked. He sneered, "You military types think you're above the law. Margaret won't let you ruin this place. Pack up." That night, Emily overheard Margaret and Frank in the HOA office through a hidden recorder. "Blake says the zoning votes next month," Margaret said. "The Wilson's Oak has to go." Frank replied, "Legal's too slow. I've got ways to speed it up." Margaret laughed coldly. "Do it. Keep it clean." A letter announced an emergency HOA meeting to evict us over violations. James warned, "Expose their plan publicly or they'll crush you." We had days to prepare. Margaret hired Richard Hale, a tough HOA lawyer, but Emily studied his losses, finding weaknesses. The meeting's timing, 7 p.m. on a workday, was meant to keep people away, but we were ready. The Pinewood clubhouse buzzed with tension. Margaret and Hale looked confident. Emily and I sat in front, calm, unsettling them. Margaret started, "The Wilsons' violations, especially their dangerous oak, require legal action." Hale showed fake photos of our neglected yard and a forged arborist report claiming the oak was unstable. "A judge approved its removal," he said, "with $1,000 daily fines." I stood. "Let's check that arborist." Hale showed a certificate from Evergreen Solutions. I projected a state record. Evergreen closed 2 years ago. "This is fraud." Gasps filled the room. Emily handed out proof the oak was a protected asset, then revealed Margaret's Summit Ventures ties and misused HOA funds. James shared years of her violations. Lisa's story matched ours. Alice admitted faking records for Margaret. Neighbors spoke up, sharing their own complaints. Edward Blake, in the back, stuttered a defense, but FBI agent Samantha Cruz stepped in. "We'll talk downtown, Councilman." Eleanor showed the covenant, accusing Margaret of ignoring it. Margaret tried to end the meeting, but James moved to remove her. The vote was 42-4 against her. She was escorted out for questioning, the room cheering. James became temporary president, promising an audit. 2 nights earlier, while I was at a conference, 2 cops came to our door. Emily, reviewing base protocols, spotted fake badges on camera. "I'm Officer John Wade," one said, showing a blurry ID. "We're here to inspect for HOA violations." The other waved a fake eviction order. Emily stalled, texting Sheriff's Deputy Megan Foster. "Show your badges again," she said, as Sophie called from upstairs, scared. "It's okay, sweetheart," Emily soothed. She flashed her Naval ID. "I'm Lieutenant Colonel Emily Wilson. Impersonating officers is a federal crime." My team's coming. The men panicked. Wade admitted Frank hired them to scare us, thinking Emily was just a housewife. Megan arrived, cuffing them as they confessed. By morning, the stunt started a federal investigation. Frank's home had fake document templates. He and Margaret faced conspiracy and fraud charges. Our oak was named a heritage tree, Summit Ventures project stopped, and our barbecue under the oak brought the community together. Sophie's Nature Club met there, the tree now a symbol of strength. Thank Margaret, I told Emily, watching neighbors laugh. Her war united us. She grinned. She picked the wrong fight. Raising a toast, I said, to community, not rules, but standing together. The oak stood tall, proof no HOA bully could uproot our home or our spirit.